How's it going? This is Ed here with eTrailer.com, taking a look at the Sport Rider SE from Hollywood Racks on the back of the 2022 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport. So let's check this guy out. All right, so we're going to take a closer look at the Sport Rider SE. We have our e-bike on here, and the first thing I would like to point out is that this is a frame mount bike. What that means is your bike is secured by the frame to your carrier. If you have a carbon fiber bike, unconventional like a step-in bike, or just a kid's bike or anything, a wheel mount carrier may be a better option because it makes no contact to the frame and it's a wider variety of types of bikes that you can secure to it. Another thing that's pretty cool about these hooks that secure your frame, they're actually lockable. They ratchet into place for different heights, and they lock into position using the same key that works with your hitch lock bolt. As far as the capacity, this can support a wheelbase up to 60 inches, and it works with your fat tires as well, up to 5 inches. And these guys are gonna make your adjustments right here using these twist knobs. And our carrier here is gonna give you a capacity up to 80 pounds per bike, which is pretty hefty as far as a bike carrier. So let's take a look at how it interacts with the Atlas itself. So let's check out our tilt feature. So there's a few steps to it. You have a pin that stabilizes your carrier. Essentially, this pin would be replaced with a bolt if you use this carrier on the back of your RV, but because it's on the rear of a SUV, it's not necessary. And we're gonna release our first pin and carefully tilt down. And now this guy's locked into place. Let's see what kind of clearance we have for our hatch. So, looks like we have a really decent amount of space between here where you can access your cargo area pretty easily. So, pretty decent tilt, and just kind of estimating, looking at it tilted with one bike. If you had two bikes on this guy, would feel like you would be okay as far as having clearance with two bikes loaded. So let's lift this guy back up and get some measurements. So let's see how close we are to our vehicle, how much space we're adding to the rear. So as far as your height, your carrier actually has a lift. So you're gonna have about the same ride height. The distance from the back of the carrier to the bumper, it's about 6 inches. Looks like your ground clearance at the furthest point, it's right at 21.5. One thing to consider with that will be affected by the weight of the bikes on your carrier. So if you have two heavy 80-pound bikes, additional 160 pounds is going to cause a little bit more dip. And just so you can see right here, ground clearance from the hitch, it's right at 15 inches. Our shank is 2x2 steel that's going to go into your 2x2 receiver and secure it with your pin and locking clip. All right, so we're gonna take our bike off and just take a little bit closer look at the carrier itself. So with this guy, one feature that I'm not really a fan of on this one, there's a stopper screw at the top of your hooks. So that kind of gets in the way of lifting up when it's time to take the hooks off. For my carrier, I might take that off. But, it's one of those things just to keep you from losing the hooks. But generally, when I'm removing a bike, I'm going to start with the straps on the wheel. And give it a little tug here. When you have the newer plastic, it requires a little bit more working it through. Once it breaks in, it'll be a lot easier to work with. And let's get the rear wheel. And center hook. And there are a lot of points that you actually touch this carrier, but for what it does, still a really good value. And you're gonna give your locking hook a squeeze here. We're gonna clamp and pull up. And we're gonna grab our bike by the fork and frame and remove it from the carrier, just being cautious. And also keep in mind, if you have a heavier e-bike, you may need assistance. All right, now with our bike off, let's put our carrier in a stowaway position. I like to take my straps and just put them back in the cradles. You have a pin here with an indentation on it where you want to turn it to match the hole. Let this guy go down, and then you're going to do the same to stabilize the mast in a down position. Now, we're going to grab our pins here, get the top one, then the lower one, and then it'll snap into place. Overall, looks like we're adding, including the bolt that's hanging out the back of the carrier, about 14.5 inches to the rear. Looks like we're pretty close to the hatch, but still we can clear it and access the cargo area without making any contact. So that's a good match as far as keeping it on the rear of your vehicle. It looks like your license plate and your backup camera would be clear. Only thing that it would trip would be your backup sensors when you shift into reverse. All right, so overall, the Sport Rider, solid e-bike carrier, very adjustable. There's a lot of knobs and pins and things to it. So if you're looking for something that's a little bit easier, the Swagman Current may be a good option for you. But also, I think this is a good value for what it does. It's very compact on the rear of the vehicle in the stowaway position. Doesn't take up much space also when it's out and loaded. So this has been Ed looking at the Sport Rider SE on the 2022 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport.